If you're on Social Security or planning to retire soon, pay close attention because what you'll hear today could change how you manage your benefits for years to come. We're marking 90 years of Social Security, and the speaker claims the program is being made stronger with faster service, shorter lines, and easier online access so you can handle more from home. You'll also hear bold promises about cutting waste and protecting the money you paid in over a lifetime. I'll keep this simple, clear, and focused on what matters to you day to day, what's changing, what it means for your check, and how to avoid headaches when you need help. But what I'm about to tell you next is even more important. For years, you've probably heard the same scary rumor repeated on the news, at the doctor's office, or even from friends. Social Security is running out of money. Some people say that in just a few years, the system won't be able to pay benefits, and that creates a lot of fear for retirees and anyone close to retirement. Imagine working your whole life, paying into the program every single paycheck, only to hear that the money might not be there when you need it most. That thought alone brings frustration, sleepless nights, and even shame. Because many older adults feel they'll have no choice but to depend on family or keep working just to survive. The speaker insists that those predictions are exaggerated, that Social Security will not die, and that leadership changes are already making it stronger. He places the blame for past problems on politicians who, in his words, don't know what they're doing. But whether you believe his version or not, the concern is real. Millions of seniors are anxious about the future of their monthly checks, and that anxiety is exactly why these new promises and claimed improvements are being highlighted today. But what do these promises actually look like when put into action? That's what you'll hear next. To calm fears and show that things are changing, the speaker introduces the man now in charge of Social Security. Instead of presenting him as a politician, he describes him as a business veteran who spent decades fixing companies that were in deep trouble. The story goes like this. He helped turn around major banks, led the biggest payment processor in the world, and rescued organizations that many thought were beyond saving. According to the speaker, this background makes him the perfect person to straighten out Social Security. The message is clear. If he could manage billions of dollars and thousands of employees in the private sector, he can handle the retirement system that nearly 60 million Americans depend on. The emotional hook here is trust. Seniors are told that someone experienced, proven, and motivated by love for the country is now running the program. This isn't just about numbers on a balance sheet. It's about having confidence that your benefits are safe in competent hands. But was the agency really in such bad shape before? The answer, as the speaker tells it, might shock you. Before claiming any victories, the speaker paints a picture of how bad things supposedly were just a short time ago. He points to call centers where seniors had to wait more than 40 minutes on the phone before speaking to someone, and field offices where lines stretched so long that the average wait was over half an hour, something he calls unheard of. On top of that, disability claims piled up into the longest backlog ever recorded, leaving people in real need without answers for months or even years. For older adults, those delays can mean missed medicine, unpaid bills, or the stress of not knowing whether help will arrive in time. The speaker uses this picture of failure to drive home his point. Social Security was being run poorly, just like he says the country itself was being run poorly. It's an emotional appeal, frustration, helplessness, and anger at a system that was supposed to be there when people needed it most. But this setup isn't just to criticize the past. It's meant to make the changes he claims next sound even more dramatic. And according to him, those changes are big. After laying out the problems, the speaker quickly shifts to what he calls the miracle turnaround. He says that field office wait times have already dropped by nearly 30% compared to the year before, meaning seniors can supposedly get help faster when they show up in person. On the phones, he claims an even bigger change. Call wait times are down 73%, even though the agency is now serving almost twice as many people every day. For someone who spent hours listening to hold music in the past, that kind of reduction sounds like a dream. The message is meant to reassure seniors that finally they won't be ignored or left waiting when they need help with their benefits. Beyond numbers, the emotional appeal is clear. Respect for seniors' time, relief from endless frustration, and dignity restored in dealing with an agency they paid into their whole lives. But the pitch doesn't stop there, because now the focus shifts to technology and a promise that seniors can access their accounts anytime, anywhere. And that's the next big reveal. The speaker highlights what he calls a digital revolution inside Social Security. For the first time, seniors are promised 24/7 access to their accounts, without the constant interruptions that once plagued the system. He says that under the previous administration, the website was often down 29 hours a week for maintenance, leaving people unable to check their payments or update their information when they needed it most. Now the claim is that the online system is reliable, easy to use, and part of a bold plan to create millions of personal MySSA accounts across the country. For retirees who struggle with mobility or live far from an office, this shift sounds like a lifeline. No more bus rides, no more waiting rooms, just answers at home on a computer or phone. The emotional hook is convenience and independence. Older adults can supposedly manage their own benefits day or night, without asking anyone for help. But while this sounds impressive, the speaker saves the biggest promise, the one meant to create the most excitement, for the very next announcement. Here the speech reaches its dramatic high point. The speaker proudly announces that he signed what he calls a big, beautiful bill that eliminates taxes on Social Security benefits for seniors. For millions of retirees living on fixed incomes, this claim is designed to sound like a huge relief. More money in their pocket each month, less stress about budgeting, and a sense of fairness after decades of paying into the system. He frames it as keeping a sacred campaign promise, positioning himself as the one leader who truly stood up for seniors. Imagine no longer seeing a portion of your check disappear into taxes. That's the picture he paints, and it's meant to generate hope, gratitude, and even pride. The message is clear. Social Security isn't just being preserved, it's being improved in ways people never thought possible. But right after this high note, the tone shifts again, this time to something darker. The discovery of fraud, errors, and even impossible records hidden inside the system. And what comes next is meant to shock. After celebrating the tax promise, the speaker moves into one of the most startling claims, that the Social Security system was filled with names and payments going to people who were never supposed to be there. He says his team already removed over 275,000 ineligible individuals, many of them not even living in the country, who were still receiving checks. Even more shocking, he describes finding 12.4 million names in the database listed as over 120 years old, and more than 135,000 supposedly over 160 years old, ages no human could ever reach. According to him, some of those names were even tied to benefit payments, meaning real money was being drained from the system every month. The message is powerful. Fraud and errors were robbing honest seniors of security, and now those loopholes are being closed. For anyone who's ever worried that the system is broken, this part of the speech aims to prove it's being cleaned up. The emotional effect is a mix of outrage. How could this go on so long? And relief that someone claims to be fixing it. But while fraud is one enemy, another threat hits seniors in an even more personal way: the rising cost of everyday life. And that's where the speech turns next. With fraud and waste framed as solved, the speaker shifts to the kitchen table issue every retiree feels: the cost of living. He insists that under his leadership, the nightmare of high inflation is over, claiming that prices for gasoline and energy have dramatically dropped compared to recent years. He points the finger at states that rely on wind power, saying their residents still face higher bills, but assures that nationwide, seniors are paying less at the pump and less to heat or cool their homes. For retirees on a fixed budget, even a few dollars difference in monthly bills can mean choosing between groceries, medicine, or utilities, so this part of the message is designed to hit home emotionally. He ties these changes to what he calls smarter trade deals and tariffs that supposedly brought in billions and even trillions from other countries. Money, he says, helps keep America strong without raising taxes on seniors. The promise is simple. Not only will your benefits be protected, but your day-to-day expenses are supposed to ease as well. But beyond saving on bills, the speaker claims your retirement savings themselves are climbing higher than ever. And that's the next big highlight. Building on the theme of affordability, the speaker now turns to retirement savings and the stock market. He claims that 401ks and retirement accounts are soaring and that the stock market is hitting record highs almost daily, creating what he presents as a golden moment for American seniors. The idea is that anyone with investments, whether through a pension, a small nest egg, or even just Social Security stability, is supposedly better off today than they were a few years ago. He credits tariffs and new trade policies for bringing in hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars from abroad, framing it as proof that the nation is no longer being taken advantage of. For seniors, the emotional pull is reassurance. The savings you worked decades to build are not only safe but growing. He paints a picture of dignity in retirement, of being able to afford not just the basics but also little joys like travel, gifts for grandchildren, or a more comfortable lifestyle. Yet, even as he emphasizes financial gains, the speech pivots again to another issue that deeply affects seniors' quality of life: safety in their communities. And the next part of the message focuses squarely on crime. After focusing on financial security, the speaker turns to another kind of security that weighs heavily on the minds of older Americans: personal safety. He paints a picture of crime spreading through Washington, D.C. and other large cities, insisting that seniors are among the most at risk when law and order break down. According to him, families should not have to worry about their elderly parents or grandparents being robbed on the way to the store, afraid to walk outside after dark, or anxious every time they see news reports about violence in their neighborhoods. The message is framed as tough and urgent: restore law enforcement power, end lenient policies that let repeat offenders back on the street, and make communities livable again. He connects this directly to seniors by emphasizing that peace of mind in retirement is not just about monthly checks or medical coverage, but also about feeling safe enough to enjoy the years they worked so hard for. The emotional tone is sharp: anger at criminals, frustration at leaders he accuses of doing nothing, but also hope that the same get-it-done approach he claims worked for border security and Social Security can be applied to crime. The hook is clear: just as benefits were rescued, public safety will also be restored, and the next steps will show how Social Security itself is being rebuilt for the future. The speaker then brings the audience back to the central issue: the health of Social Security itself. He declares with certainty that the program is not only safe for today's retirees, but will remain strong for 90 years and beyond. He insists that what many Americans feared, that the system would collapse in a matter of years, has been turned around. To prove his point, he lists the actions already taken: reducing phone and office wait times, cutting the disability backlog, expanding 24/7 online access, eliminating taxes on benefits, and removing millions of fraudulent or outdated records from the system. Each of these changes is presented as a building block in the restoration of trust. The promise is emotional as much as practical. After decades of working, paying taxes, and believing in the promise of retirement with dignity, seniors deserve to know their country has not forgotten them. He frames this progress as a victory not just for today's older adults, but for their children and grandchildren who will also depend on the program. The message is one of pride and reassurance. Social Security is not a sinking ship, but a renewed foundation. And with that reassurance comes the suggestion that challenges still exist, critics are still attacking, and questions remain unanswered, setting the stage for a combative exchange with the press. In his conclusion, the speaker brings all the threads together into a single, emotional pledge: seniors will not be abandoned, forgotten, or left behind. He reminds the audience that Social Security has been protected for 9 decades, and under his leadership it will remain secure well into the future. He repeats that benefits are now free of federal taxes for seniors, that online services are faster and always available, that fraud has been slashed, and that wait times have fallen. These achievements are framed as proof that promises made during the campaign have been kept. For retirees, the emotional weight of this message is reassurance that the system they invested in their entire lives is finally working the way it should: efficient, respectful, and reliable. He paints a hopeful picture of retirement where money stretches further, service is easier, and peace of mind is restored. He urges seniors to stay engaged, to pay attention to the improvements being made, and to trust that the foundation of their retirement is secure. The speech closes with a mix of confidence and challenge. The work is not finished, but the progress is undeniable, and with continued leadership, Social Security will not only endure but thrive. The hook that lingers is both comforting and motivating. If so much has already been fixed, imagine what more could be accomplished in the years ahead.